Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler. This time we have another of our top whatever videos, in this case the top 5 best retail packaging, either product lines or packaging types themselves. This is kind of a weird one. I did some ones in the past on worst packaging. For instance, worst retail packaging got one. I'm actually working on a list of worst non-retail packaging for Star Wars Home Video items here. But really finding the best is a little tricky, because it is very subjective. It's a matter of taste in a lot of cases. In some cases, we're looking at things that are very elaborate, but they're elaborate because they're not just home video, they're home video and something else. So this will be an odd list. I will say there'll probably be more disagreement with this one than with some of the other ones when it comes to best stuff. But it's just kind of looking through my collection very quickly, kind of skimming around in terms of thinking about what I would personally pull out as good examples of cool designs if someone were to ask me to show those, if they came by and saw my collection. I came up with 5 that I think here stand out as, if not the best, then among the best packaging types, in my opinion, for Star Wars retail products. Again, though, bear in mind that some of these are not home video exclusive. They will be home video included within something else. So we start out here with the number 5. It was really tough for me actually to come up with here. I think number 5 could be either of these sets from China, which would be the one-click sets from Blue Fans. Actually, we're going to see in another video. Or the one that I actually did choose. And the reason that I chose the one that I did was because it usually includes extra goodies, whereas the one-click boxes look cool, but don't tend to make room for extra stuff. And that is the premium limited box editions coming out of Japan. Like here we have The Force Awakens. There's a similar one for Rogue One. There's one that is a little bit bigger, a little more clunky, a little more flimsy inside, but a little more elaborate in terms of what it includes. It was also made for The Last Jedi. Unfortunately, that's as far as they went. They did not make one for Solo or for Rise of Skywalker. But these were always pretty cool because they're nice, they're glossy, they're somewhat compact. They're about the size of some of the box sets, like the Special Letterbox Collector's Edition and such. But typically they will include the film, usually within a steelbook, and you'll have some extra goodies to go with it. In this case, sort of a standard figure. Then there are other, SH Fig Arts figures for some of the other packages from this product line. So I tend to like them. They look kind of fancy. They're not too huge in terms of the space that they take up, and they tend to give you extra goodies to go with it if you're importing them from Japan. And the US never got anything quite this elaborate for those releases. So to me, that's right there to number 5. I'm not sure that it could stand up maybe to some of the other ones it could have contested for number 5. This is the one that I picked. But it's definitely going to be one that I think is one of the nicer, classier looking recent releases. Coming in at number 2 is this big boy, which is going to be the first of the ones where, as I said, they're not necessarily just home video items. This is Star Wars Dressing a Galaxy. This is that special limited version of it. If you take off the little silk wrapping here, you can open it up, and it's this enormous case with that nice hardcover book and some replica stuff inside, some clothing swatches underneath there, but then you've got the Dressing a Galaxy DVD down there in the corner on this side over here. So something that's very fancy, it's limited edition, it's got all these cool little things, like, again, the fabric swaths from what they use for actual costumes and so forth. You got the replica Wookiee belt buckle and all, and you got the DVD inside of here. Pretty pricey, crazy heavy, but nice. What I don't like about it, though, why it's not higher on the list, is one, these tend to get bent a little bit if they're held in the wrong place. I'm going to have to make sure that it's flat when I put it in there this time. But also, notice it gets pretty scuffed looking pretty easily because of just the nature of the outer layer. I'm not even sure what that is that's over what appears to be some wood here, or thick cardboard or something here. So, nice packaging overall, great package overall, but just be aware that it's going to get scuffed a little easily. Number 3 for me is in a similar vein, also heavy as hell. That is Sculpting a Galaxy. This enormous sucker here, which again is going to be a package that opens up to reveal stuff. Let me move my computer here. Basically magnetized, that opens. You have this still showing through because it was just this physical piece here with the hole. You've got the faked, I believe it is, signature. I can imagine that being real. Then all your stuff in here, the DVD in its own little small jacket affixed to the side here. Then you've got your various bits and pieces here. I've got the pieces still covering them, and it's like pieces of how they modeled the Death Star and whatnot, the replica of the actual land speeder. And then if you take this side, make sure I don't do this dangerously, and pop it even further out, inside there's your two books, the main book in hardback form and a smaller book to go with it. Just a fantastic, fantastic product here. Again, limited edition, pretty pricey, includes home video but isn't home video in and of itself, and crazy, crazy freaking heavy. These two, from the last one and this one, are part of what helps, along with some laser discs, weigh down my shelves, and particularly did so before I had anchored them to the wall. So not for the faint of heart or for those who maybe don't lift with their legs or something. The last two here for me are much more sort of standard home video items, but still kind of cool in that they have some unusual packaging to them. This product line, we're actually going to see in another top 5 list sometime soon, is the Big Sleeve Edition out of the UK. Basically LP vinyl sized packages with a J card on it that typically includes 3 discs and a bunch of art prints inside. And unfortunately, just like with the premium limited box editions out of Japan, they only made them for The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and The Last Jedi. After that, they didn't have anything like this for Solo or for The Rise of Skywalker. They're a little inconvenient to store, although you can easily store them alongside Laserdiscs because they're essentially the same size. But it's pretty cool, and in some cases there are ways to get combinations, for instance, of having like DVDs with Blu-ray, which usually didn't happen in most releases in the UK that were typically either DVD or Blu-ray as it went. So nice combinations here, again with art cards to go with them. As you can see the previews of them there. All covered previously on the show. But I'm very fond of the Big Sleeve Edition look, even if they don't get nearly enough praise as they probably should, because from a cover design standpoint, a package design standpoint, they're very much a departure and really classy looking compared to some others. Then finally at number 1, the UK Definitive Collection VHS set. Not only are they just, great in terms of content, but really cool looking, and it's designed to look like it is cargo from the Super Star Destroyer Executor. Very cool stuff. The only downside that I find with these is that inside the plastic insert that holds the VHS cassettes and holds the books and stuff on it, over time gets pretty brittle because it's fairly thin. So for instance, in my case, if I take off the little cover here, you'll see that the corners on either side are cracking pretty badly. So that's kind of a poor decision from a longevity standpoint, but I don't know that longevity was what people were thinking about when it came to these. Golly, are these going to manage to last decades in someone's collection? Probably not the first thing they were considering when doing the design. So yeah, this one stands out. It will always be one of the coolest looking, most thematic Star Wars home video releases in terms of packaging, probably that we will see in this growing Star Wars home video library, particularly because there's not a lot of physical releases coming soon. So the chances of something elaborate and super cool like this happening in the future, pretty slim. And when we look back, this is the one, at least in my opinion. But what do you think? Are there other Star Wars home video retail packaging options, presentations that you find a better one than the ones that I've shown here? If you were to, for instance, remove Sculpting and Dressing a Galaxy, what would you include in those other 2 spots for pure Star Wars home video items? I'd be curious to hear. Feel free to put those thoughts in the comments below. Again, I find this kind of an odd, sort of iffy list. I'm sure there's other stuff that could have been on this list as well, but what stood out to me in looking around my collection, just kind of seeking out stuff that just stood out as really cool packages that just had something going for them that maybe others did not, these were the 5 that stood out to me today. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers.